Roaring Mouse is a performing arts group for people with learning difficulties. In 1992, staff employed by Hartlepool Day Services responded to growing demands from some of the people attending Warren Road Social Skills Centre who wanted a regular opportunity to act, dance and sing. Constraints of space and time at the day centre soon saw the group setting up in a local community base, Hartlepool People Centre, where they hope to work alongside others and create a profile for the group within the community. Roaring Mouse have come a long way since then. Their success in becoming an established feature in the field of theatre for people with learning difficulties has been matched by their eagerness to explore and develop new themes and new ways of working. Roaring Mouse helped to create the Get a Life show, an interpretation of a complicated document produced by Hartlepool Social Services in consultation with people who have learning difficulties. As the show crystallised, the material being generated in the improvised drama workshops was becoming more and more incendiary.
Don't ever clock me! I'm a fucking man! You're a fucking baby! Don't start on me! If you start, I will for the police! The gun down now! I'll take the law in your hands!
Sean wants to be a superhero, but would settle for playing the Incredible Hulk on TV.
Supported by Cleveland Arts and Hartlepool Arts and Museum Service, their job was to unravel the vast body of material relating to important issues including employment, advocacy and health.
Next! I'm now in with him. I've got a bad arm.
Oh, you've got a bad arm? Let me have a look at you. Does that hurt? How about that?
Kerry! What Timmy Collis he lives in little get. Man! Oh, I should be out time. I Donkey's King Tut.
Meticulously woven from the material, the cabaret was performed, quite controversially, for a packed audience of carers, social services representatives and people with learning difficulties.
It's to life.
The show was recognised as being hard-hitting, funny and moving. For Roaring Mouse, an identity was born.
Can we practice that Gapman chorus again? Because everybody's not like coming in at the same time with the Gapman.
The major problem you have when working with people with learning disabilities and trying to do performing arts with them is obviously the amount of support that they need, because people do need help to get things right. The amount of time it takes for someone to learn the lines, to learn a dance routine, because they don't necessarily have the ability to retain thoughts as well as other people do.
I find that they're a very enthusiastic, energetic group of people. They're very caring, they're very affectionate. And I've found that if I come in and I'm not feeling the best, they lift your spirits, they really do.
Right, after 4. 1,
2, 3.
No, stand. Alan, you're coming in after 3.
Sorry.
Right, wait, I'll say 4.
2, 3, 4.
That's getting better. Memory's a problem. Being able to remember lines, inability to read in lots of cases, so you can't provide a traditional script, but you can often put material on tape and people will absorb it better through constant repetition. This is the only rehearsal we've got, so is there anything anybody wants to go over?
No.
Hiya, Sean.
Buoyed up by the success of Get a Life, the mice pounced upon the opportunity to perform the Doctor's sketch at an event for health professionals in Thornaby.
Who's that?
The group were pleased that their reputation for performing relevant and entertaining material was gaining ground outside their native Hartlepool. But with 24 members, the cost of providing reliable, accessible transport was prohibitive, and Roaring Mouse at this point had no independent funding.
She's Nurse Karen.
I'm a nurse.
What's wrong with your arm then, Alan?
I've got a bad arm.
Why don't we have to?
Everybody has a talent in this group, and we exploit it to the full, I think.
Sorry?
The opportunity to be part of a team is good for people. I think it encourages confidence in people, it encourages people to speak up for themselves.
I'm coming.
What's happened? Did it come off, David?
Yeah.
That's what the kids are for.
Let me bring it. I'm just Thanks. Everything now, just told you, ready now.
That's great.
Because I know the those things. The lower.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've now got these are some of the members from the Roaring Mouse drama group, and they're going to do a sketch for you, which is about communication between health professionals and people with learning disabilities. So, over to you, Losh. Yes! Stop it! You can't read? No. I don't think you can do
People with learning disabilities are amongst the most discriminated against in our society, and being involved in the drama where they're taking the shows out to the public gaze actually involves them in a debate about their lives that otherwise wouldn't take place. And a lot of the performances take place in at consultation days or presentations to health professionals, people who work in education, employment, and the people who make the decisions that shape their lives, and they're actually getting a chance to influence the decisions. They didn't used to be asked these questions.
Yeah, man.
We're all right, man, yeah. That's very much.
I'll play. And then
One more time.
When it comes to generating new material, Roaring Mouse was showing an increasing desire to steer the content. Taking into consideration the length of time they would need to devise, develop and rehearse even a short performance piece, a long period of brainstorming ensued in which new and sometimes uncomfortable themes were explored. Alongside this, to keep the group's sense of performance and team building keen, they set about auditioning, rehearsing and producing their unique interpretation of Grease. Immediately, the facilitators were faced with a problem. There are just 5 main characters in the story, and there were 24 mice all hungry for lead roles. A compromise then that would see 5 separate Dannys fall in love with 5 different Sandys, along with the rotation of all other roles. It was a workable solution, but sometimes despite their enthusiasm for the project, tensions ran high and occasionally emotions spilled over. Members of the chorus thought they were missing the spotlight. It was becoming clear that in order to address the needs and aspirations of individuals, the group's structure would need to change. This might be achieved by developing smaller facets of the group, making space for individuals to grow in skills and presence. But one of the great strengths of Roaring Mouse as a whole lay in the members' intuitive desire to support one another. Would this be lost if the mice became too fragmented?
For me, the problems that we find within the group are probably the size of the group. Although it's very nice to have a big group, you get lots of personality, you get lots of energy from the group, it would probably be more structured and more productive if we were to break into smaller groups, and we can spread the skills and the personalities of the group around, get better group dynamics. We have probably an ongoing problem with fundraising, financing our activities.
At the moment, we're funded by social services, so they basically sort of pay the wages of the staff who come in and facilitate the group, and they pay the higher fee for the hall that we use. Ideally, the group would like to be independent, so they have more control over what they do. If the group were independent, then obviously that would make a difference when it came to trying to raise money, trying to get grants, because as a statutory body it's very difficult to raise money for a group like this, whereas if it's an independent group it does become a little bit easier to try and generate funding.
But again, to break us down into smaller groups would probably help. We attract funding for projects across the board that way.
Can we finish? Next May in Malta there's going to be a festival called the Festival of the Senses, and it's all disabled people, groups of disabled people doing dancing, performing, doing singing and things like that. And we have been asked to take a group of people to this festival. Woo! The problem is though, not everybody can go.
The timely arrival of this unmissable opportunity to take the group's work abroad was again exacerbated by having too many when places were too few. Apart from the challenge of the inevitable disappointment looming for the 18 mice members left behind, new material needed to be devised to develop the skills of those who may previously have felt overshadowed by the presence of more confident performers. The chance for the group to splinter into smaller cells was here. Open auditions were held and 7 people were designated to go to Malta. In order to cope with this increased demand, drama worker Martine Dellard was drafted in to devise a performance with them.
Guilty or not guilty? You said I am not. You said I am not. You must listen to that. I do not see the recording. Hey, strike over. That's smart.
A lot of the group members are very concerned with like personal relationships, and they want to have families and live an ordinary life, and they're often being told, no, you can't do this. Through drama, we're able to explore these feelings about this and how they feel about being prevented from doing this. That, to me, is enormously satisfying, even if what you come out with at the end is, a record of their frustration and their inability to actually live the life that they want. At least they've been able to get it across, and possibly to other people outside of their immediate circle.
Quite happy with the second scene. Yeah, these costumes, we're really going to have to sort out the costumes because that took far too long, didn't it? Once you've got the costumes on, you whisper it round. So you're coming round and you're round, you can't do this, you can't do do that. You can't have a baby. You can't have children. You can't have a boyfriend. You can't have a job. You can't be home. It's close to build up, and if you've got 6 voices doing that, then when she says shut up, it really means something. At the moment she's saying shut up, and there's not really that much to shut up.
Telling the story of a couple with learning difficulties whose relationship is forbidden by their carers, I'm Not That Innocent represented a real advance for the Malta group. With its abstracted sections of movement set to poetry and original music, its minimalism of sets and props, and its sheer variety of drama and comedy, the real advantages of having a smaller subgroup soon became evident. Group members could at last focus properly, unhindered by the distractions faced in a larger group. One-to-one development sessions meant that stagecraft and characterisation could be explored more thoroughly.
That's better. Now, did you see the difference there? There was just that real, you were expecting to come in and see your 2 daughters in bed, and then there was a real shock when there was an empty bed with just a note on it. Right, remember, that's how you do it.
With only a couple of months to the Malta gig, the play was in a healthy state of development, and then disaster struck.
There's been some rumours flying around already about the possibility that the people who were going to Malta might not be going after all, and I'm sad to say that this is actually true. Although we were promised a spot in this festival, the guy who invited us in the first place won't give me any definite information. We gave him till today to say whether this was actually going to go ahead, and what he said to me is that they haven't even decided whether they're going to have a festival or not, let alone who's going to be involved in it. We can't leave it any longer to say whether people are going or not, and we've had to decide that we'll have to say we're not going because it's getting too close to the time, and we can't let people go out and buy passports and spend money on things to go to Malta and have people asking us when we're going and keep on saying we don't know. So I sent a message, I sent an email message on the computer to Malta on Monday to this man saying, please say whether this festival's on or not, and he said, I can't say for definite. So that's it, I'm afraid we won't be going to Malta. And I understand that people will be really disappointed. I'm disappointed. I've never been to Malta, I've never been on an aeroplane. So I was looking forward to it as well. But does anybody know what you call people from Malta? No. Hey? So we can all dig in, and this is the closest to a Malteser we're going to get, right? What I thought we could do, is, I'm going to be married from Malta, and you all people, one by one, could come along and shout at me.
Yes. I'm upset about it, and
because I understand you're upset about it.
And there's that bloke, message on there, tell him now, basically now, I'll say.
I have to organise a referendum.
Who's your random?
It's not my fault. It is your bloody fault. No, it isn't. How is it my fault?
If you want to glue in yourselves. You do block the days. Yeah?
Yes?
You would let me down. Oh.
Okay, what you upset for? I'm not upset. I'm just saying, yeah. Please, don't come to my office anymore. Don't shout at me anymore. Can't stand it. I'm sorry. Now can I go and kill myself?
Okay. That would look like you'd make a nice mother. Whilst the Malta group had been hard at work, the rest of the mice had been busy, developing a play with darkly resonant subject matter.
Idiots Breed Idiots is a play about eugenics and the way that affected people with learning difficulties. the notion that people with learning difficulties would be kept in workhouses, discouraged from reproducing, and in some cases worked so hard that they would eventually die. We felt it was important for the group to be exploring this kind of subject matter because the stuff they'd done in the past was fairly lightweight, and this would have a greater impact both on their own perception of themselves and their history and on the audience members who would be seeing the production. Even though 6 people had been taken away to take part in the multi-project, there were still 18 members in the group that was doing Idiots Read Idiots, and the problems inherent in managing a large group were still evident. The thing is, Martin's playing the receiving officer, Mr. Brigham. It's quite a significant part in the piece, and he's decided that he's the big prima donna. He's been really abusive to Steve Lennon this morning, and now Steve's decided that he's not going to put up with this kind of abuse, and he's given the part, or so told Martin he has to go off home or shape himself up, and he gave him 10 minutes and he didn't do it, so he's now out, and Steve's quite adamant about it. So we've now got to, with 2 weeks to go, got to get somebody else written in and doing the part. I quite fancy Lee for it because Lee knows all the words. He knows all the words of everybody's parts.
I have order to
bring you to the
workhouse.
Excellent.
That part. He could have jumped now. Tony Antonans. My wife.
Martin's upset, isn't he, because you've been given his part?
Yes.
Is it true?
No, I'm not taking his place. It's Lee taking his place.
Hey, nobody's like that, don't he?
Right.
Because Steve Lennon told him off.
Steve Lennon?
Yeah.
Do you think he's upset because of that?
Yeah, he is.
Somebody can't do the part or won't do the part.
Yeah.
Then somebody else has to learn it and take their place.
I
actually thought it worked quite well when you two turned up at the
Yeah. Do you think if Martin got another chance to do it?
I don't know.
Steve
won't let him.
Why?
Please, to me, please.
It does not.
I am coming.
Please.
David, I'm okay. Then somewhere, when he comes back, put a dress to him. Then he chance. If you have anything like that, madam, just join in, right? Just join in, right? Just join in. You don't. Just join in, just join in. Learn how to bring your eyes.
Any worries that we'd had about the group's support structure being damaged or dissipated by fragmenting into smaller facets seem to have been groundless when you consider the way that they supported each other during Martin's dismissal from his role, and Martin himself responded to their support really well.
In the 19th century, people with a learning disability were segregated from the rest of society in workhouses.
Wasn't that? Keep going, come on.
I've got bad news for you. Your baby's dead.
In 1910, Winston Churchill campaigned for the compulsory sterilisation of 100,000 moral degenerates. He said, "The unnatural and increasingly rapid growth of the feeble-minded classes, coupled with a steady restriction amongst the thrifty, energetic and superior stocks, constitutes a race danger which it is impossible to exaggerate. I feel that the source from which the stream of madness is fed should be cut off and sealed up before another year has passed."
People were shocked to think that people with learning difficulties could have been treated so harshly in the past, and the audience response reflected that. But what we decided to explore later on was the fact that Victorian attitudes still seem to remain in our society, and still the same discouragement from reproducing and having any kind of sexual relationship is still in situ today.
Do what I want.
You call James, Dick, Lisa Miller, your lovely village wife. You make us the bride. Hold it. Right there. This will never be life. And you're lit!
Oh shit.
How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Not guilty.
But I'm not that innocent. Yeah!
As the mice's identity had changed, the audience's reaction and interpretation of sometimes quite uncomfortable subject matter had to change too.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Roaring Mouse. Let's go, have an extra round. Roaring Mouse! We can't hear you! Roaring Mouse!
Very much Rory Mouse Gamboo.
One of the mice's most important objectives had been achieved: to devise and perform challenging new subject matter and expose it to ever-growing audiences. The next step was for Roaring Mouse to formalise their status and become a constituted self-determining organisation. It's polling day at Roaring Mouse, and elections are being held to decide who will join the group's new steering committee.
So what I've said to you, as was discussed with you last week, is what we're going to do today, or this morning, we're going to have elections for the committee. Alright? Yeah. Now, what you've got to remember is this is very important. Because people who are on the committee are going to represent you. And they have to be good at putting your point of view across and speaking up for you. Alright, so that's the best thing you've got to remember. Now what we're going to do is we're going to invite all the people who've said they want to be on the committee to come up here and sit in this chair. And I think what we'll have is you can talk for 2 minutes about why you think you're good to represent people on the committee. Is that okay?
On the committee, I like to help out, and I'm interested.
Why are we with you to get a job?
I did do anything for I'm a staff.
Right. I like to be on this committee because I help other people, and if people have learning disability, I help them as well. If they're in wheelchairs, I help them. Even deaf and dumb people, I help them to read.
And if they put in, I tell them to give order.
I get all the money for the loads of money for the drama club. Meet all my best friends.
The reason I want to be on the committee is taking over Kelly's old job as stage manager, and I want to do that because
no polish, no bother, no way. She's better, David Bella, no way, no way, no bother. I do. Sure. Now.
I like to be in the community about health and safety, keep people safe.
Raise money for the drama group and that, and get your costumes and that.
I like to be on the committee. Like, people get bullied all the time.
So what we're going to do now is, I'd like you to have a look at the photos and the little symbols that are underneath, and have a think about who you want to vote for. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn them round, and I'm going to give you all, in the first lot of voting, 2 stickers each. And I want you to go and place those stickers on the people who you want to be on the committee. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn all the boards round so people can't see who you're voting for. And I'm going to ask you to come up one at a time.
It's important as well to remember that people on the committee will be taking notice of what the group wants and telling other people. So people who are on the committee have to be able to be understood.
And I think the other thing that I need to say before you start voting, and as obviously we're only going to have 4 people on the committee, 11 of you are going to be disappointed today because you haven't got on. But you're all going to have to be adult about that and accept it, all right? I don't, you know, you've just got to accept that not everybody is going to get on the committee, all right? But some of you will not get on it. And somebody else. And that leaves us with 4 people left on the board who people have voted to represent the group on the committee. Right, and those people are Joanne Ranson, John Rennie, David Millett, congratulations those 4 people. We'll be in touch with you to let you know when the first committee meeting is going to be. And the people who didn't get on, hard luck, but we'll keep the voting cards here. And if anyone drops out, we'll maybe come back and ask you, alright? So we'll mark down how many votes you've got. I think the votes worked out well there. Like I said, we've got a good representative group of people.
It's quite nice that there's 2 blokes and 2 women as well, isn't it? Worked.
But they can also speak up for themselves and put the point of view of other people as well. So.
After 2 years of development work with the group, they're ready to adopt a constitution, and this is an exciting phase in their history because it means that they'll be free to apply to different places for funding and also to be able to decide what they spend the funding on and who they choose to work with.
Calm down, everyone. Come on.
Elevate group, which is not just an activity provided for them by social services. And it really does seem as though lots of doors are about to open for the group.